All right, one of my favorite things to do in 3D printing, favorite kind of personalized thing to make, are these nameplates here. It's just kind of like a solid body with a cutout for an insert to put their name, and you could put lights, LED lights or something so they could light up. Or you could just have them like this, where it's contrasting colors. You could have it stick out. You could have it inset a little bit. And today I am going to show you how I do that. It's not a perfect process, but it works kind of most of the time for me. So that's what I'm going to show you here. So grab your kid's favorite blanket, cuddle up, and let's get started. So first thing, pick your second or third favorite word editor of choice. In this case, I'm using Google Docs. You're just going to simply choose a font that you like for what you're doing. If you want to do more of a feminine font, you could do that. If you want to do a more masculine font, you could do that. But I do find that these bulkier, bolder fonts work pretty nicely. I do like the permanent marker option. In this case, we are going to use Coral as an example, just because it's nice and short. It'll be easier to do. And you don't have to do this, but I like to make the first letter a little bit bigger. Now that you've done that, you can save this and create an image file, but in my case, I'm just going to use Windows Snipping Tool to grab it, copy it, and then bring it into a program called Inkscape. And in here, we are just going to go ahead and create a new document. And just Control V to paste it in here. Make sure the picture is selected. Path, trace bitmap. It'll bring this window up over here. You can fiddle with the settings a little bit to get it how you want, but when you're ready, just click apply. It'll give you a preview there. And once it's done, just drag it to separate. The blurry one here is going to be the image that you pasted. You can get rid of it. And then this is the vector. Once you have this, you're going to go up here to edit paths by node, and you can zoom in and edit how you see fit. You can do some of this in the next program we're going to use, but the more you do here, the less you have to do later. And I think this program is a little bit easier to do it here because this is what it's meant for. And the next program we're going to use is not meant for this. So that's why it seems to work a little bit easier in here. I'm just doing a rough job just to give you an idea. We probably don't want that. You don't want to make super tight areas like this. Just kind of spread it out a little bit. And you'll be better off this way. There we go. So that is what I want there. And then once you have it the way you want, go ahead and File, Save As. We are going to name it here. I've already done the tutorial one time, and we're doing it a second time now. So we're just going to add some A's there. And we want to choose SVG as the file format. Click Save. And then we're going to jump into Fusion 360. This is a paid commercial software. In this case, we're using it for personal use. This is just a demonstration. The personal license is free. You can look that up on their website. We are going to insert SVG. We are going to choose the longer Carl. Put them there. I like to center him. You could use this little handle to center him right about in the origin. It's not super important. Hit enter. And then while we are in the sketch, we're also going to create a rectangle just for reference for size. I'm going to make this nameplate about 100 inches. This could change later on. You're not obligated to follow that. You could always scale up or down, but for something like this, like a keychain sort of thing, 100 or 75 millimeters is probably pretty good to go. And then you could go from there. But once we've done that, we want to choose the lock here. We want to unlock that so it turns from blue to green. Say it's green. We don't want that. We want it blue. And then we are going to modify, sketch scale, select coral, and a point. We're going to go ahead and select the origin. And we are going to scale them up to approximately 100 millimeters. And then we don't really need that reference anymore. Alright, and the big tool that we are going to use here is the offset. Everything is going to be based off of this line, or these lines that are here now. Everything is going to be based off of those. So that's why it's important to get it right in Inkscape. So you're going to choose your first letter. If the letters are disconnected, you'll have to do those letters separately. And then we want to scale out. I'm going to go ahead and scale out, say 4 millimeters. And since we're going out, we have to do -4. And then we're going to do offset or hit O on your keyboard, -4. There we go. So this is going to make up the outer edge, that black edge. That's what's going to make that up. This obviously is smaller than 4 millimeters. Maybe it's not that obvious. But this one overall is going to be a little bit larger, so 4 millimeters is perfect. So we are going to clean this up just a smidge. Okay. Trim, just hit T on your keyboard to trim up some of this. What we're looking for here, it's kind of confusing when you're sort of just looking at it, but what we're looking for is when you hover over the letter, we want that whole letter to light up white. That's what we want before we keep on trucking. All right, the next step, once we've done that, is we need to extrude this. But I'm seeing a problem here. This is not looking like a closed profile. You see how it's not white when I hover over it? That means we're not going to be able to extrude that. So we need to find out where this line is broken on the outside, preventing it from being a closed profile, a closed sketch profile, and preventing us from extruding it. There may be easier ways to do it, but the best way I found is just split it up, make a couple lines, and okay, it's still broken. Create some more lines. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now this section is a closed profile. That's what we want, but we have to get that all the way around. So let's close this up. Okay, the bottom's a closed profile, very nice. Let's come up here to the top of the C. Okay, that's closed, very nice. That's closed. Looks like both of these may be broken. That one's good. And basically we're checking in between each of these nodes is what we're looking for. So that's good. That's good. Okay. So once you get to this point, once you narrow it down enough, just hit T, trim off these pieces. And then if it's a straight line, you could just use a line, but if it's got a curve, you want to do a spline. And if possible, get a second click so you could maintain the curvature. That's a little bit too much of a curve, but that's fine. Okay, we got the C done. Let's come over here to the rest. That part is good. That part is good. That's good. Okay. That's good. That one's not even attached. Okay, so we narrowed it down. There we go. The spline. Okay. There we go. It's closed off. Make a line. L on your keyboard, by the way, will give you a line tool. That's not touching. And you want to make sure when you're doing this that it's touching there and touching there. Otherwise, it's not going to close off and it's not going to help you anyway. All right, so hit T, trim these off, and we're going to do a fit point spline. There we go. That's got a sharp corner. That's pretty bad. Clean it up just a little bit. There we go. And then if you want to, you could come in here and trim up these lines. That way it's just easier to select it when we go to extrude it. You don't necessarily have to, but you can. And I found another piece we're missing, so let's create that. It's probably too many nodes, but you get the idea. And this is what we want. When you hover, it highlights everything. That's what we want. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and extrude everything. And you could decide if you want to do these or not, or have them hollow. But I personally make them solid. I prefer that. Back plate, we're just going to do that at 2 millimeters. This is going to be the back plate. There's the front, that's the back. So the back plate will run right here, right along the back. So it's not too important, but I like having a beefy backbone. Okay, we want to re-enable the sketch. Now we're going to just do the wall, and we have to do the inside of the letters. This is why I prefer doing that. It looks a little bit better. And we're going to re-enable that body because we still want to be able to see that. And we want to change this to join. And the walls, we want the nameplate to be, we'll say 10. Oh boy, we'll say 10. Yeah, why not 10? You could do however you like. I usually do like between 10 and 12. So the whole thing is 10. I remember on the inside this is 2. So from the inside here up to the outer edge is 10 millimeters. Because, well, in this case it's 8. So if the whole thing is 10 and the bottom plate is 2, that means it's only 8 from here to here. So we will want to remember that for later. Okay, so we could go ahead and hide that body for now. And then you could come in and edit the sketch. You could create a new sketch, but I like to edit it so I don't get confused. I have a simple brain. So we are going to hit O for offset. And what we're going to do here, we have to create a tolerance. We're going to build a tolerance into the insert here. So we don't have to do it in the printer settings or worry about scaling in there or anything. Depending on your printer, you'll want to adjust this, but I have found that 0.15 works pretty well for me. However, if you have a lot of tight areas, like say this section here, and it's going to get tighter, by the way, or here, things like that, when you have a lot of things that you need to incorporate around, you might want to increase that a little bit to 0.2, 0.25 even. But when you have a big letter like this, it's just all by itself and not too much going on. It's just sort of got this little curve here. 0.15 might be sufficient, or sometimes it might even be too loose. But you could glue it in if it's too loose. If it's too tight, then sometimes you can't do anything about it. So you might want to err on that side. But you can always come in here and adjust later as well. So we're going to go ahead and save that at 0.15. And we want to offset it again. We always have to work off of this main line. You can't offset off of an offset. So we always have to revert back to that. And I want my wall to be 1 millimeter. Depending on how you do your setup, you might want to adjust that. If you want to put lights in, you might want it to be a little bit thinner. So the light shines through a little bit better, but if you're using a lighter color material, 1 millimeter will probably be okay. So we are going to go ahead and account for the tolerance offset and add that to our wall thickness. So we did 0.15, so we're going to do 1.15 for the wall. Save that. And because it's separate letters, we need to do it for this as well. 0.15. 1.15. 0.15. And if you ever get confused, the main sketch line that you're working with won't show, or at least usually it won't show the little blue or white dots, whereas the offset that you create will. So that might be an easy way for you to differentiate. If you hover over the line, you'll see them, but yeah, anyway. Okay, offset 0.15. O for offset 1.15. Enter. And that should do it. Now, what we have to do, we have to make sure our sketch profile is closed. What I mean by that is when we go to extrude, we have to extrude individual closed sketch profiles. If I hover over the outside, you'll see that it only highlights the outside. Contrary, if I hover over the C is okay. Alright, cool. Just a little bit less work. If I hover over the A, however, you will see the wall is included in the highlight as well as the tolerance. The insides are okay. This one's not. We got to do some fixing there. So same as we fixed the profile on the outside, we have to do here. So start making your lines. At first you could kind of cover big sections. This makes it maybe a little bit more efficient, maybe not. Let's see. Yeah, we'd have part of it here. But we still have some fixing to do because it's coming on the inside. So I'm going to work on this and then I will be back. Okay, so there we go. I've done that multiple times just today. It doesn't get any funner, but it does get a little bit easier with practice, repetition, just being able to identify it and keystrokes and whatnot. There's probably an easier way to do it, but I don't know what that is. So here we are. Okay, now that we have that, we want to go ahead and make the main body of the letter. We're just going to choose the letter itself for now, and we're going to go ahead and extrude that, say 1 millimeter. If you want to put light in there, you're definitely going to want to do 1 millimeter, or maybe even a little bit smaller, just depending on what you want to do. And we want to make sure that's new body. Click OK. And then here you have a decision to make. So there's one of two ways you can do it. You can do it like this, so the letters stick out from the nameplate like that, or you could have it so the letters go inside, they're inset, and then you can see the inside of the walls. So you can do that if you prefer as well. If you want to do that, you just leave the letters like this. E for extrude, select the walls, and you do want to make sure that you are not selecting the tolerance section because we need that tolerance. A lot of people need to be a little bit more tolerant, but it's neither here nor there. Now, if we want it to go upwards, we will change this to join, and then what was the inside was going to be 8 millimeters. This is extruding from the plane, so we could just choose 8. So that's gonna upward like that. So you will see the inside of this wall being inset. Here's the nameplate. Ignore this spacing, it's because it's in the same spot, but this will be at least much closer to level with that. Sorry, I actually forgot to include the inside of the letters. There we go. So that's what that would look like. However, I don't usually like doing it that way. You can if you would like. That's, I think, really the only difference that you would have there. So do whatever you want. I'm not here to judge. The way I like to do it, I will change the start on the extrude, change that to object, and I'll choose the top of my letters, and I want to extrude downward, and in this case I like the letters to stick up 1 to 2 millimeters. We'll do 1 millimeter here, so we want it to go down. We're going to say minus. The inside is 8, so we want it to go 9 millimeters. That'll cause it to stick up by 1 millimeter, because the 8 will fill in. It'll fill in the body. It'll fill in the body, and then an extra 1 millimeter will stick out the top. Alright, and we want to make sure that's set to join. We want to make sure the main body is hidden. We'll hit OK. And I don't think that worked out right. No, it didn't. Let's come back in to edit the extrusion. We'll make sure to select the correct surface to start from. No, -9. Okay, what's going on here? Select. starting too low. Okay. I'm not sure why that's doing that, but there are multiple ways to skin this cat. You could change this to 2 sides. So we could have one side go up 1 millimeter. There we go. Yeah, we could have one side go up 1 millimeter and the other side go down 1 millimeter, or go down 9 millimeters. So it'll cover the 1 millimeter going up. That's the 1 millimeter that'll stick out from the nameplate. And then this is the remaining 8 millimeters that'll be on the inside of the nameplate. But that is the bulk of it. We can go ahead and move this just higher. I like to organize that so I know what it looks like. And let's go ahead and name some of these. Name C. And then name R. There's that. And then I also like to make this into a keychain. What you could do is hit M for move, create copy. We're just going to move one of them out there. So now we'll have one that's not going to be a keychain. And then here we are going to have the keychain. So we're going to go create torus. We're going to choose the top of that as our plane of creation. Go ahead and pull out your torus. We want to make it kind of a thick boy, thicker than a molasses milkshake. We want to move this. We want to rotate it 90 degrees. This way it makes it easy to print. We won't need supports and it'll look a little nicer. I think it's a little bit stronger this way too. We are going to have to scale it. So modify, scale. There we go. There's our point. And we want to make it, I don't know, keychain size. Now we got to move this thing and get it back in place. I might have made that a little bit too small. There's probably a better way to do it, but there we go. I can live with that. Now, it's not the case here, but sometimes you'll have the keychain come out on this side, which we don't want. If that happens, we want to go to Modify, Split Body, select this as the body to split, and the tool, we are going to use this face. Click OK. And then we find that body, and we're going to just hide it. And now we could go to Combine, select that, and then tool body is the main body, join. You could press F for fillet, and then create your little fillet. You might have to play a little bit with sizing here to find one that works. You want to make sure that there's enough room for the keychain in there, but it's also kind of pretty. There we go, that's the bulk of it. From here you could come in and chamfer or fillet the edges, inside, outside. Usually can't be too drastic there. And then on these letters, same thing. Remember, these are going to be face down though, so you can't be too dramatic with that. Otherwise it won't be supported on the build plate. You might have adhesion issues, and we want that to be nice and smooth. So from here, the last step, we're just going to go ahead and export each of these things. dun, dun, dun. There we go. And then we're going to do the keychain one. And you can name these bodies a little bit more if you want to. There we go. Cool. And then we could pop in here, pretend you didn't see that, because that is from the last failed tutorial. And then we're going to go to where we have those saved. Select them all. Drop them in there. You don't want a single object. And then we want to face the inserts face down so they print nice and pretty. But that is it. Now you can go out there and make all kinds of customized name plates. You can do light boxes if you'd like. If you do want to do that, you will have to think about creating holes that go through here and through here, but that may be a video for another time. Or if everything is connected, like here, you could connect it all the way through and you don't have to worry about creating holes. So something to keep in mind as you're designing. But there you go. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching.